right, well, good morning, Central Georgia, and happy Monday. It is the brand new start to a brand new work week, and not only that, but the start of a new month as well. And I have to say, this is my absolute favorite month of the entire year. I love June, and I love the summertime, which June is also the beginning of as well. So celebrating a lot of things today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the forecast that you can expect for the upcoming week, and also just talk a little bit more about what we're seeing right now. And that's what we're going to start with, which is our 4-camera picture here of all of the sky cams. Right off the bat, just by looking at all of these, there's one thing that probably stands out to you and has probably been standing out to you for the past couple of days or so, and that is likely the haze that you can see in the sky. Unfortunately, we've had several days of completely dry, clear, sunny, beautiful weather, but we haven't quite been able to get the true blue sky outside because we've had this haze with us for the past several days. So right now it might look like, especially in places like Perry and in downtown Macon, maybe less so in Warner Robins and over in Dublin, or at least the way I have the sky camera turned, it may look like there's a lot of cloud cover going on outside right now. But like I said, we're completely clear. It's haze from smoke that is coming down to our area all the way from Canada. You may have heard there's a couple of wildfires happening in that area, and all of that smoke has been able to push as far down as the deep south here. The reason that we've had it for so many days is not because it continues to filter in, it's because it continues to sit in the same spot. We're in a pretty stagnant pattern in our upper atmosphere, so the smoke hasn't really had much to move it out of our area. So we've just been continuing to sit under this haze. The good news with this is that it hasn't really impacted our air quality. It's stayed relatively in the upper atmosphere, so we're not necessarily breathing in harmful fumes from sitting under this haze. We're kind of just stuck with a little bit of a different scene in our sky outside, and you probably definitely notice it at times like sunset and sunrise when the sun really gets kind of an orange appearance this morning. It even almost looked like it was the moon when I was showing it on the Macon sky cam. So a little bit of background as to why we're not getting the true blue sky picture that we would love to have, especially with how much sunshine we have right now. Luckily though, we still have no clouds and we can still enjoy sunshine time today despite having a little bit of haze in the air. So the same scene basically in all 4 spots right now. Clear skies, clear as can be, basically almost no clouds in the sky, just dealing with a little bit of haze outside. If I had to pick one that looks like somewhere I'd want to be right now, it looks like Warner Robins, just because the grass looks so green and everything looks so nice down there. So let's look at where we're at right now in terms of the 4 sky cams. But let's take a look at how we sit relatively compared to everybody else number-wise. And you'll see we're actually under a fairly similar pattern to a lot of the U.S. right now. Everybody's sitting pretty moderate, especially for the start of June here. What you're going to come to find out, though, when we talk about in a few minutes, is that June itself is actually a fairly moderate month. But we'll talk more about that in just a minute. There is a little bit of cooler pattern happening further towards our north, not by much. They're sitting in the mid to upper 60s. Down here in the deep south, we're sitting mostly in the mid 70s, and then a little further south, close to areas like southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and southern Georgia. That's where the 80s are beginning to creep in, and then over there in Florida and in Texas as well. So actually not so bad out there, but we're going to continue to warm up as we head throughout the rest of the day today. In our area specifically, we're already finding the mid to upper 70s. It looks like our warmest spot, which is usually our warmest spot, is down here in Vidalia at 77 degrees. Our coolest spots seem to be the low 70s. Over in Forsyth, seeing 72, Warner Robins at 73, Macon at 73, and actually a few of those spots we're lucky enough to get down into the upper 50s in the overnight hours. So it really may be the influence of a little bit cooler air in a couple spots like that, and otherwise we're relatively kind of all sitting in the same spot. Now, I show you this to show you the humidity right now is in the not bad category. In fact, I would say most spots are even teetering between dry and not bad, except for, unfortunately, maybe down in Crisp and Dooley counties, creeping up a little bit to that muggy category there. The humidity today and tomorrow are really going to stay within this light green color. Now, if you're not a fan of the humidity, this will be unfortunate news for you, but as we head into the second half of the week, we're going to start to see the influence of a lot more of that dark green start to make its way onto the map. Also, just to point this out, I think that there may be something wrong with the sensors that's over in Columbus or LaGrange. I've noticed for the past couple of days that it's been doing that, so I don't think that it's truly just really muggy over in Columbus. I think there's something wrong with the sensor over in that area. But this is a look at where humidity stands right now, and it's kind of a good point to make that the work week is going to be made up by 2 parts. It's going to be today and tomorrow. That's going to be part 1. And then it's going to be Wednesday and the rest of the week. They're going to be marked by 2 separate stories. and I'll get into more details in just a second, but one of those stories is going to be humidity. So your low humidity days are going to be today, and they're going to be tomorrow as well. Now, not much going on also in terms of winds. Things are really calm at the moment. In fact, for the rest of the day, we're really not going to see winds pick up too much. Like I said, the atmosphere is kind of in a stagnant pattern right now. We have no major movers heading our direction for today or tomorrow that would really pick winds up or kind of just cause general difference in weather in our area. So winds are calm right now and not a whole lot heading our way for the rest of the afternoon. So at least for today, before we talk about the rest of the week, what's your story? Well, it's going to be a great day today. Monday is going to be really nice. A great start to the work week, and like I said, a great start to the month of June. We'll stay really dry all day today. So if you've got outdoor plans, remember what I said. We're in two parts this week. Part one is going to be the best part to get your outdoor plans in, especially today. Clear skies, not really a chance of rain. You'll see a 10% on the 7-day forecast. It covers the bases for maybe a brief sprinkle, if anything. If you happen to catch this brief sprinkle, it'll last for maybe 5 to 10 minutes and it will completely move on, probably not tacking on any rainfall totals either. The real story, most places are going to stay completely dry. The only change from really yesterday to today, because we had a great weekend and a dry weekend too, is the second part here, that it's going to be a little bit warmer. So the high temperature today is actually going to climb into the upper 80s as opposed to the mid 80s, which is where we were sitting yesterday. And you'll notice if you take a look at the average high right above this high temperature for the day, that is right on par with where we should be for this time of year. So we're going to talk more on temperatures in just a minute, but that's a look at what the rest of today specifically will look like. Now, turning to the satellite and radar, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. We really don't even have a whole lot of clouds in our state at all. There's just a calm weather period here. That means calm in terms of clouds and calm in terms of rainfall as well. I've been saying this all morning, but I like to joke that the radar is taking a little bit of a vacation because of the active week that we had last week, and honestly just the active month of May that we had this past month. And it's going to be able to keep on taking a vacation at least for the next day or so here before we start to have some rain chances back on the forecast. So let's talk about rain chances. Like we said, for today, I mentioned the brief sprinkle chance, but you can see even looking at the future view, it's having a hard time picking up on anything at all. So these honestly may even just be some heavy clouds. And that's about the most we're talking about for rain chances for today. So Monday is going to be a great day for outdoor plans. I know that's what I'm going to do as soon as I get off work, take advantage of being outside. I'm going to take a walk. I may even go to the pool as well. It's going to be a really nice day today for things like that. And tomorrow, honestly, you can just kind of wipe your hands, rinse and repeat. The forecast is going to be almost exactly the same in terms of temperatures, in terms of rain chances, in terms of humidity. Remember, this is part one. So Monday and Tuesday are going to model each other very similarly. We'll start Tuesday off a lot like today, completely clear skies. And as we head into the afternoon Tuesday, the only real change on the way is maybe a couple more clouds. And then again, that 10% chance of rain on the 7-day that covers the bases for a brief sprinkle, if anything. But otherwise, once again, I think it's going to be a mostly to completely dry day for everybody in our area. So that's part one. Let's talk a little bit about part two of the week. That starts on Wednesday. So what's going to be happening here is a low pressure system that's off to the coast, which I'll be able to show you better on the long range models in just a minute here. It's just going to start pushing a lot of moisture into our area. So what that's going to do is it's just going to give us the fuel that we need for a few more scattered rain chances. It's not necessarily anything like what we saw for the past few weeks where we have these major rainmakers moving through our area. It's really just, okay, well, that's going to bring a little bit more moisture to our area, which means with the warm temperatures that we have, we're going to have the fuel that we need to just have a couple of scattered showers. So Wednesday is the first day that we start to see that increase in moisture, and you can see what it does on the future view here. Brings a little bit of a rain chance onto the forecast. Some scattered rain. The good news is, and I really don't think this is going to be the case for the rest of the week either, we really don't have much of a washout of a day. It's going to be scattered, maybe light to steady rain at times, but you can see very scattered, not necessarily taking over our entire area all at one time, almost kind of like pop up to isolated scattered showers throughout the day. On Wednesday, it could begin as early as your morning commute and then kind of stick with us through the rest of the day, but I really don't think it's going to be an all-out wash for Wednesday. So that's kind of the first day that that pattern enters our area here, and then it's going to stick with us through the rest of the week as well, which is why this is kind of part two. The next couple of days model each other the same way that Monday and Tuesday are going to model each other. So here's a look at that low pressure system on the long range models here. Both of them doing a pretty good job thinking that this is going to kind of push somewhere up the eastern coast of us here. And you can see what it does, just kind of pushes some moisture into our area. I don't necessarily think this means we're going to see some major widespread rain in our region. Again, I think it just means it's going to give us a little more fuel for some scattered shower chances. So same kind of thing for Thursday. All of this moisture could just cause some on and off scattered and isolated showers throughout the day on Thursday, maybe beginning as early as your early morning commute, but to me, not a total washout of a day, and it sticks around with us into Friday also. Now we start talking about the weekend, and it's kind of the same story, just with a different driver. So the low pressure system moves on out towards our east, but then you start to see some rain chances looking like they're coming in from the north. So what's going on with that? Well, what happens over the weekend is there is kind of a frontal boundary, if you can kind of imaginary draw it in up towards the northern portion of Tennessee, that wants to push closer to us and bring us more increased moisture out from the north. But it never fully pushes through. So it's not a major rainmaker once again, but it provides the fuel that we need for more scattered shower chances into the weekend. So if we play that out, it's going to look like a bunch of paint splatters, nothing that looks like it's necessarily organized or that you can pick up on a good pattern of. That to me on long range models signals that we're just looking at scattered rain chances for the weekend as well. So remember, it was 2 parts, but the second part includes Wednesday all the way through Sunday. Same type of thing. Every day, Wednesday through Sunday, I think we're going to have a little bit of a rain chance, but hopefully none of those days, at least right now, are looking like a complete washout. But we'll kind of see how that pans out over the next couple of days or so. So I've kind of included the rain chances here just so that you can get a picture of it more visually. So remember, Monday and Tuesday, completely dry, your great days to get outside. Then heading into Wednesday and basically the rest of the week, that's when your rain chances uptick just a little bit. I've dropped it down about 10% for Friday. I wasn't picking up on quite as much as I was seeing on the short range models for Wednesday and Thursday, but again, you know how things go on the end of the 7-day, kind of penciled in, and we'll see how things play out over the next few days or so. And not only that, but because of the fact that we're going to have some increased moisture, that's going to increase the humidity, which I touched on just a minute ago and kind of teased at the fact that these are going to be the best days of the week in terms of humidity. That is kind of the truth here. You can see today and tomorrow we're creeping between, like I said, the comfortable and the humid range. So we're somewhere between not bad and humid. But as we head into Wednesday and that low pressure system tracks closer to our area, we get a little bit of increased moisture, and that bumps us up a little bit closer to the dark green box that you see here, that very muggy category. We're not necessarily full blown into the muggy category like we are in months like July or maybe in August, but we're definitely creeping a little bit closer to that than probably we have so far this season. So it'll feel a little bit more like true summer air out there in terms of the humidity. And then of course, that increased humidity will help with our rain chances in the second half of the week. So what about the temperatures? We know we're going to have increased moisture. We know we're going to have some increased rain chances as well. How uncomfortable is that going to feel with the numbers that we're going to have on the 7-day forecast? I think not so bad. We're staying actually pretty close to where we should be for this time of year. And if you didn't know, which actually kind of surprised me a little bit this morning when I refreshed my memory on it, the average for this time of year is 89 degrees. So June is actually maybe not as hot as we typically tend to think it is. I know a lot of times months like July and months like August is really one of the worst ones here in Georgia, are a lot warmer. But if we're sitting right in the upper 80s, that's kind of where we should be for this time of year. Now for the past few days, this was the high yesterday, right in the mid 80s. We've stayed just shy of that average. So we've had a pretty temperate couple of days here that haven't gotten quite into the upper 80s, but we're going to start to find our way towards that during this upcoming week. So let's take a look at your afternoon highs for the next couple of days. Remember, right around average for this time of year, so not actually so bad and definitely nowhere above normal. We're right where we should be, especially for the beginning of June, but it starts off with today. We're going to find our way into the upper 80s this afternoon. We talked about that. Not so bad. We have really dry air with us, so Monday and Tuesday, even though we're finding our way into the upper 80s, 88, 89, they're not going to feel so bad. There's not going to be a major heat index on the way because the humidity is going to stay fairly low for the afternoon today. As we get into the midweek, remember, part 1 and part 2. Part 2 is going to feel a little bit stickier. So Wednesday and Thursday, we actually kind of stay in the mid 80s, probably due to the influence of some of the showers that we're going to have throughout the day. If you happen to catch a shower, that will help cool things down a lot in your area. Rain cooled air really just helps the temperatures cool down and just feel a little bit more comfortable. So we may stay a little bit cooler, but that's when the humidity starts to come in. So it may not feel a whole lot cooler because there's going to be some moisture in the air, but the actual temperatures will probably stay a little bit closer to the mid 80s. By the time we hit Friday, the rain doesn't seem to do much in terms of our high temperatures, and we jump right back into the upper 80s. Again, that's right where we should be for this time of year, right around 89 degrees. So nothing too major, but the 90s, as you know, will be back. It's not really the last time that we see the 90s. If we flip this over to the 7-day forecast, by the time we talk about the weekend, well, you can see 2 90-degree days on there. And I will say some models were even talking about going a little bit warmer than that. I saw a few 91s, a few 92s, but I was inclined to kind of keep it in the low 90s, at least for right now, because of the way that things are going with the rain chances and the way that things are going with how much heating we might get over the weekend. So we're going to keep it at 90 for now. We'll see how that kind of plays out here. But this is a look at your story in 2 parts. Remember, part 1, which is going to be the best part of the week. If you've got outdoor plans, Monday and Tuesday are the days to do them. Generally, if you just kind of want to be outdoors and enjoy some drier and cooler air, that's going to be today and tomorrow. 10% chance of rain, just to cover the bases for the fact that a couple of clouds that we may have this afternoon could, emphasis on could, because it really probably won't, produce a very light sprinkle at most that would probably fall in your backyard and not your neighbors and be done within just a couple of minutes. So that's that 10% chance of rain. Otherwise, sunny skies aside from the haze, unfortunately. It'll probably stick around with us through Tuesday. And then the story switches to part 2 as we head into Wednesday. That's when a real rain chance is on the way, not a washout rain chance, but definitely a better chance at catching a stray shower or maybe even a stray rumble of thunder or two. We're definitely not expecting to see any sort of severe weather in the next couple of days, which I probably should have mentioned a few minutes ago. There are no Storm Prediction Center outlooks, and we're not really expecting any sort of major driver of the weather that's going to bring us any sort of severe weather chance in the next couple of days at the very least. So not much like what we saw in the last few weeks, where things actually didn't quite pan out as bad as the Storm Prediction Center and as the National Weather Center was kind of predicting, but we'll kind of keep our eye on how things look for the next couple of days. So Wednesday, the real rain chances kind of return in the chance of scattered showers, but the temperatures drop down just a touch, but the moisture will be up. So feeling muggy, and then a chance to catch a brief shower for Wednesday, Thursday, and for Friday as well. And then, like I said just a few minutes ago, as we head towards the weekend, then we jump back up into the 90s. And right now, that kind of scattered rain chance continues with us into the weekend. But we'll just have to keep our eye on that frontal boundary that I showed you on the long range models a few minutes ago. We'll have to see if that thing tries to track a little bit further towards the south and actually push through our area entirely, which would mean we would probably see a more organized rain chance, meaning our whole area would be in for some rain for the weekend. Or if it really does just kind of sit above us and not really move much, then we're talking about more of a scattered rain chance. So that's why we often say the end of the 7-day forecast is penciled in just a little bit. We have to see how these elements interact with each other at the surface and at the upper levels. And then the type of rain that we get over the next couple of days will also kind of give us a picture of what we're expecting for the weekend. But overall, it's not a bad looking week. We're in the upper 80s, which is right around where we should be for this time of year. Low 90s is not too much higher than where we should be. And rain chances are not looking like what they've looked like for the past few weeks. Remember, there are no severe weather outlooks at the moment, and we're not really talking about any sort of major rainmaker that's going to make an entire day a total wash. You probably have the chance to get outside each and every day on the 7-day here. You just may have to duck and dodge a couple of showers. Having a rain jacket or an umbrella in your car this week is probably going to be the way to go, and probably going to be the way to go for the foreseeable future. You know how this thing goes when we head into the summertime. We get those afternoon pop-up showers and storms that just kind of pop up with the heat of the day at random. This will kind of be a similar pattern. So you may just want to go ahead and throw your umbrella in your car for the season, because like I said earlier, summer officially kicked off, at least meteorologically, on June 1st. And now we're kind of dealing with this pattern for a while now. So it really is here to stay. And this is kind of what the next couple of weeks could be similar to here in central Georgia. So that's an extended look at your forecast. Hopefully that gives you a little more information and just gives you a little more background on what you can expect in the upcoming week, and hopefully really gives you the chance to get outside, especially today and tomorrow, because those are going to be the great days to do it. I know that's exactly what I'm going to do as soon as I'm out of here. Alex Pry will be back tomorrow. He's just taking his Memorial Day holiday, getting some extra rest this morning, and he will be back with your forecast for 13 WMAZ News Morning, and then right back here at 10:30 on 13 WMAZ Plus for another look at your forecast and some more information likely about the weekend. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.